It was a cold and dark night. The storm had been brewing for months and erupted with a great force, like a dog that's been left on its chain for far too long and sprints for freedom once it's released. I was sitting in my office in a gloom, wondering how I'd pay the rent when she walked in, her glance glistening in the fluorescence of the hallway.
"I need your help,"
she said, with tears streaming down her pretty face. I sat her down, lit her a cigarette, a Marlboro Blue. I'd been smoking them recently. I can barely taste the nicotine, but I'd been trying to cut down. "I'm all ears," I said to her. You see, I'd been caught in a freak accident as a child, and the doctors messed up and stitched multiple ears onto my face. The main reason people don't hire me, I suppose. But she didn't seem to mind. "I'm a good listener," I said.
"It's my husband.
She replies.
He's been missing for 2 weeks."
Not an unusual case in a big city. People leave all the time, get murdered in the streets. Big city isn't for everyone. It's a cruel mistress in the night, a stray bullet shot from an AK from her neighbor's dog. "I'm sorry to hear that," I said to her. But I'd be lying if I said I wasn't paying attention to anything else but her big old titties. "What was his name?" I asked her.
"James."
"James, huh? I knew a James once. We had been war buddies. He saved my life more times than I can count. I wonder where that bastard is now. We fought for this country's freedom, but they sure didn't give a shit about us. People spat in our faces when we got home. A good welcome as any, I guess." The rain slammed hard on the window behind me. I asked her, "Do you have any idea where he could be?" Not that she'd answer me truthfully. It's obvious from the gleam in her eyes that she knows more than she's willing to share. None of my concern, I suppose. "Is there anyone that would want to harm him?" I asked gently as I stood up and walked around my desk. My trusty desk that I once won in an old gambling den. I moved over a pile of newspapers and sat down in front of it, the dust soaking into my pants. She sat there, silently, slightly waving her head back and forth, and then said,
"I don't know why anyone would want to hurt my dear James. But I remember the last time I had seen him, he looked distressed."
"Distressed? Did you ask him why?" I replied.
"He was a very secretive person, and from the way he was fiercely staring through the window, I could tell that whatever was on his mind would stay there. I still ask, but he stormed out of our house."
I raised one of my oddly shaped eyebrows and let out a slight sigh. "Miss, if that is truly what happened, I'm afraid that there's not much hope." She shrieked, a sob of magnitude of all the oceans exhaling from her pretty mouth, as she asked me, stuttering,
"Have you ever heard of Don Dong?"
Don Dong. Of course I had heard of him. Everyone in the big city has heard of Don the First Dong. He's the kingpin of the most powerful crime organization in this place of hopelessness. If you hold your life dear, you make damn sure not to cross his path. "What about him?" I asked. Silence permeates the room for what seems like an eternity, until her voice pierced the sound barrier in a last effort to convince herself that all is not lost for her husband.
"James killed Don Dong's son in a car accident last year. We had hoped no one would ever find out it was him. We had forgotten about it. Well, not really. We had made a prison in our mind and kept the thoughts there."
My eyelid, heavy from the dust and smoke in the room, jumped open and my sight focused on her. I immediately thought to kick her out, to tell her go home and forget her husband, to pack her things and leave the big city. No one ever fucks with Don Dong. I learned that the first hand. I'd never forget what he did to me. How could I? Every day, my reflection reminds me. There was no freak accident. No incompetent doctor. Only Don Dong and his sick mind. I looked out my window and into the nothing that is big city, catching a glimpse of myself in the process. Thunder roared in the distance, and I turned back to her as my mind tells my mouth to start talking. Her face appeared before me, tears streaming down from her shiny, delicate eyes. She displayed all the sadness in the world. How could I doubt her feelings are true? How does one react to this? Do I push her away? Tell her to flee? Can I get involved? Should anyone suffer the fate I've suffered? Her beauty captivates my mind as time passes. All of me wants to protect all of her, fulfill her wishes. Before I can fully comprehend my or her actions, my arms covered her, like a blanket for a heroin addict, like the warmth that caressed your body when you take a relaxing bath after a long, cold winter's day. Like a demon, lust personified, her claws dig into my back. She fills me with ecstasy, joy that is beyond words. Careless whispers floated by my neck, through my spine.
Hold me, for he can never hold me again.
My muscle tense, my mind blank. I'm sorry. The next thing I know is her lips on mine. Delirium, paradise, hell. An endless ride of erosion that leads me deeper into captivity. It's funny, isn't it? How the loss of one person can fill you up with desire, and how that desire can spark a flame that engulfs everything around you. With her lips pressed against mine, me tasting her bitter, joyful tears, maybe Don Dong did me a favor. Focusing all my strength into one final thrust before we both climax, I whispered into her ear, "I'll take the case."